I'm going to ask y'all to help me to remember to record. So, hey, everyone watching the recording, we just got back from breakout rooms and we did all the answers to this worksheet and talked about it. Unfortunately, I did not record it. So here's the answers. I got this one wrong, thanks to Jake, who corrected me. We will be talking about this in the 6 to 8 o'clock thing, and I'm going to do my best to remember to record it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about this. Remember, this is one of those important distinctions between our variables. Which ones are qualitative, which are quantitative. How do you all feel about the word variable? Is it kind of clear in your mind what we're talking about, or is this thing still a little strange yet? Anyone want to comment on that or like explain what a variable is? Or want me to explain what it is?
I think you should explain.
Okay, I was thinking that was the case. So, question 2 says that the following table has these 7 different variables that are information about the top grossing movies for the year, these years. Now, this isn't framed as a study. Like our top one, this is framed as a study. Should we eliminate spring break? And so when we go through the data collection, our population is students. And so we go to each student and we say, should we get rid of spring break or should we not? Their response is one variable that has two options. The variable could be yes or no. We could collect more information about these students, more variables other than just their opinion about spring break. We could collect their gender. We could collect their political views if we wanted to. We could collect their age, their weight, their height, anything we wanted to collect about that student that we could lawfully do and wouldn't make them uncomfortable. And each of those bits of information we collected from them would be a variable. And then we might be interested in connecting two variables. So saying, let's take all the males from our sample and say, well, what % of the males said yes? Or take all of the English students and what % said yes? So a variable is essentially a piece of information collected from an individual in our study. Does that make a little more sense? Well, before you answer that, we don't have the question here, but the population is in this problem, all movies, maybe, or all movies made from 1995 to 2012, or if we want to be super specific, the top grossing, meaning the ones that made the most money. I forget what's the difference between gross and the other income, but I think isn't this before expenses? Yeah, net is after. So this is how much money they brought in before they subtracted how much they spent, maybe. So the population could be all movies. And maybe we could argue that we don't need this date because our sample was drawn from these and we want it from all years. And then each one of these columns represents one piece of information we collected from that movie. So the year it was made, the title, what genre of movie it is, how it was rated, who made it or distributed it. I don't know the difference. How many ticket sales there were, and notice, by the way, in millions of dollars. And then how many tickets were sold, again, notice in millions. So how we doing?
So for the
good, thank you.
Go ahead, Jake.
I think the verbiage is a little different every time. Would we get it wrong if we specified the years in the population for this one? Or are you looking for just the top grossing?
I see what you're asking. Great question. I don't think I'd be that picky on this one. The problem is it's not clear. Like we don't know if we don't have a question that's being asked. Like if we had been told in the prompt, like up here, we were told Jackson College is interested in this. So we're given some clues about what kind of study is happening. Down here, it's just like, hey, here's some information. So I'm guessing at what the population might be, and the population is going to depend on the question we're trying to ask. If we only care about the movies from 1995 to 2012, then this is the population. But if we care only about top grossing movies from the dawn of time that movies were made till now, then we wouldn't include the dates, and the dates would just be a part of the sample. That's a great question, Jake. When it's not a super clear thing, I am very comfortable with multiple answers. Oh, which adds another great point. When you receive feedback from me where I've graded your work and you get something wrong and you disagree with me, talk to me, bring your argument to me. More often than not, I'll be like, oh my goodness, I was totally wrong, right? I did it right here. Even on exams, it's going to be a little tricky how that goes. I've never done a Zoom proctored exam, but when I grade it and you get to look at the results, and any place I mark you wrong, you should look at it and say, do I agree with that, or do I actually think I'm right? And then you should argue with me, and I'll probably give you points back. Let's see. Could the dates create bias? Good thinking, Laura. That depends on what your question is. But I would agree, they could very much create some sort of bias. It didn't say that these movies were randomly drawn. I mean, we picked a very specific type of movie. All right. How do you feel about year being qualitative?
No.
I feel
Okay.
pretty good about that.
Brianna, you said no. Talk to me about no. Ashley, you said good. Okay, I like that.
Actually, I'm gonna take it.
Take it back. So I'll dispel all of our things and just say this is the tricky one, right? It's a number. I kind of don't think that 1995 plus 1996, which I don't know what that equals, divided by 2, what does that equal? I don't know that that number that we get there is particularly meaningful. Isn't it 1995.5? Like, what does that mean? But if we talked about the age of the movie, so if we subtracted from each of these years 2022 and got their age, like this one's, I can do the last one. This one's 10 years old, which would make this one 11 and 12. Oh, then we could just count backwards. But anyways, if we did the age, that's definitely quantitative. We can calculate the average age of a movie. I have seen some people, I think Alana in the notes in her YouTube video calls the year quantitative. I kind of disagree, but it could go either way on that one. So that one's not super clear. Are we okay with that?
I know that in our breakout room with Cindy, we put it as quantitative.
I accept that too. This one I always, usually when I answer this one, I put it in the middle.
And I think, Eric, because I think was thinking about the age thing there.
Yeah.
That you could do, you could do, calculations with it, but it is tricky.
Yes, and it doesn't particularly, I want to sit down with Alana and ask her thoughts on this too, and see where she falls on it. Be assured that I'm not going to ask you to identify whether year is quantitative or qualitative on an exam.
Right, that's exactly it. Put it
I'm
in
gonna
the
give you a
middle.
movie
Yeah,
title.
he has it
Yeah.
in the middle.
Right. I never mark this one wrong, by the way, when I grade it, no matter, unless it's blank. So how do you all feel about the rest of these being qualitative? Don't be bothered that there's numbers in here, right? They're just names. And then these two are quantitative. Hopefully that's fairly clear. Okay, good. This one is always a huge discussion. What's the actual population here? And there's bunches of different clues. You can go bunches of different ways. If we looked at the sample, The sample is 9,000 women 50 years old. Excuse me, over 50 years. But if you look at the title is Teenage Physical Activity Reduces Risk of Cognitive Impairment in Later Life. And if you think about the only way they could try to answer this question is they have to get a group of teenagers and have them exercise and not exercise, and then look at them later in life and see how's your cognitive ability. I can't answer that question today, right? Because I need to wait until those teenagers become older. So what you do is you go to older women and say, let me try again. You go to women over 50 years old and you say, what did you do when you were a teenager? Did you exercise regularly? So in my opinion, the population of interest here is all women. Of course, we could get into what's the definition of woman. At what age do you become woman? I'm not going to talk about that at all. I do have daughters. And so to me, that's the population, because of the question they're asking. Y'all have any thoughts on that? Disagreement? Brianna, I like your answer. That's typically what we do is take the sample, remove the number and put the word all on it, and you're good. And like 99% of the time, that's good, because that is the difference between a population and a sample. Talk to me, Laura. Disagree with me. Go.
I disagree because of the number in there that says the study of more than 9,000 women over 50 years old. There's more than 9,000 women. So you can't say all women, because we didn't talk about all women. We only talked to specifically those 9,000 women.
Love it. But remember what we do with a sample. We talk to a small group of people to make an inference about everyone. You're 100% right. It's impossible to talk to all women. There's women living in the jungle somewhere that no one knows they're alive and they've never met civilization, a civilized world, right? That island off of India and places in Brazil, right? So yes, it's impossible to talk to all women, but that's the point here, right? The distinction between what's a population and what's a sample. The sample here is precisely 9,000 women over 50. Actually, 9,000 women over 50 from these 4 states. And we might argue this is a really bad sample, because what about someone that lives in Europe? What about California? Does Maryland, Minnesota, Oregon, and Pennsylvania accurately represent America? Laura, do you disagree with me still, which is totally okay? Anyone else have thoughts on that one?
It's not like, I agree. I think it could be either. Like, I think Eric should say all women, or he should take all women over 50. I think this one is like, it's worded really bad.
I think this is taken directly from a.
Yeah.
So get ready. Yeah, I wouldn't count you. Why is this not writing? I wouldn't count you off if you wrote over 50. And again, my argument is we're talking about teenage years.
Yeah.
And if you look at what they asked them, they said, hey, what did you do when you were a teenager? And then what did you do when you were between 30 and 50? And then they probably gave them a cognitive test. And so if you think about the variables here, one variable is how much physical activity at teenage year. Yeah, lots of variables. The next one is physical activity during these ages. Another variable would be their cognitive skills. Interesting how they measured that. They probably broke the women into gender and other age groups within the over 50. So women in their 50s, women in their 60s, 70s, whatever, and did all kinds of stuff. And this is the claim. This is the inference they made from their study. So they got these 9,000 women. They're like, oh, look, women who regularly physically are active at a lower age have lower risk of cognitive impairment as opposed to those who aren't physically active as teenagers. So if you're no longer a teenager, sorry, you missed the boat. Hopefully you were physically active. Okay. Hopefully the key thing you need to understand between these two is what's the difference between the population and the sample, and how do we identify them? It's always going to be like a little tricky because of, you know, what we've talked about here. I'm a very gracious grader when it comes between the two. Mostly when I'm looking for the population, I'm looking that you include the word all of something, which is why I would 100% accept this answer, all women over 50. When I'm looking for a sample, I'm looking that you've identified it's a smaller portion of everyone. So if you're given a number, you give me that number with the description of those things or people or whatever. If it says some women, you tell me it was a certain amount of women, not all, just some. That's the main difference I'm wanting to see between these two things that you're picking up. All right, number 4 is this 65% a parameter? Wait. Are these three things parameters or statistics? The 65% and the 40%. I always forget about chat. Brianna, how do you know it's a statistic? Laura, who wants to say how you knew it was a statistic? Don't be shy, y'all. Mic it out or type it, whatever you want. Oh, and let me tell everyone, statistic is correct, but how do we know? Oh, Brianna, you've been chosen. You can elect me to do it too, if you want. Oh, let me ask this. Parameter, oh wait, here comes some chats. It's a measure of sample. How did you know, Reagan, that it was a sample, measured from a sample?
Because the sample would be the little chunk of like the population of everyone that could have been surveyed, and then those percents came from the people that actually answered, which is the sample.
Love it. Now, how did you know? You're 100% right. That's it. How did you know that these two numbers were a sample? Because I don't see the word sample anywhere in the prompt. And that's for anyone. How do we know that the 10,413 students and the 588 teachers represents a sample and not a population?
Is it because we're only looking at the Knight Foundation and not all students and teachers?
Love it that you said not all students and teachers. I have no clue what this Knight Foundation is. We could Google it. I'm guessing they're interested in the First Amendment. Like that's probably their mission, is protecting it. The reason I'm asking this is because it requires what is it, prior knowledge or whatever. You have to know that there's more than 10,000 students in America, and you have to know that there's more than 588 teachers in America to know that those two numbers are samples. Now, part of me wants to say, yeah, it's obvious that there's more than 10,000 students, but it might not be. Especially if, I don't know, you might not be familiar with the numbers of students out there and the numbers of teachers out there. Does that make sense?
So if it was a parameter, would it say like all of the people asked would answer? That's the only way it would ever be a parameter.
Yes, you would have to see the word all, or you would have to know that the number given to you was the size of the population, which isn't fair, right? Did you know that there are 32 NFL football teams? Is that right, by the way? Or is it 24? No. I don't know. Did you know that there are 435 people elected to the House of Representatives? This, what I'm highlighting here is an example of how I could ask questions that are completely unfair, because this is a population. And if I talked about, say, 50% of the House of Representatives are male, then I've given you a parameter, because the 435 is all people. I'm going to do my best not to do that to you, okay? But what I'm trying to highlight is context is everything for this entire course. And at any point, if the context you're given you don't understand because you're not familiar with it, let us know and be like, I don't know baseball. Why are you doing that? That's not fair. Or I don't know how to play poker. Well, we're going to sort of teach you. Sort of. Get ready. Okay. Boy, I spent way too much time on that. Is everyone feeling good, or anyone confused on anything for this entire worksheet? Any question on here or anything we talked about?
So for this, we're gonna use like the cam scanner or whatever and turn that into a PDF to turn it in, just like the other ones.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. Unless you wrote on your own screen digitally, and then you do this print as a PDF thing, and then upload that. For those of you digitally doing things. If you have an iPhone, the notes thing is awesome. Because there's an option where you just scan and it scans the document, it like does these little squares over it, and then just poop, there it is. Cam scanner is similar, but you actually have to hit the button, and like everyone wants to save. I don't know, maybe you need that finger workout. Okay, one of the other things I wanted to do was to introduce you to the idea of the reference sheet. So I am going to open a whiteboard. I don't actually want you to collaborate on it, but it's okay if you write some things on there. It might get in the way. And I don't know if this is going to be the best way to do this, but what I want to start every class period with is just a quick, like really broad stroke overview of what you covered with Cindy or watched on the YouTube videos. And what I'm doing is saying, hey, here's the 1.1 reference material that I think you need to know. Like what I think you should go on your reference sheet. So I'm going to summarize real quick 1.1. And we might have to find better ways to do this. So we just spent an hour talking about this. You need to know the difference between a population and a sample. So you need to understand what those definitions are. By the end of this first couple weeks, you're going to be drinking this stuff. You won't even think about it anymore. It'll be second nature. It'll be like 1 + 1, but you're just now getting exposed to it. So keeping track of that is super important. And note the way I'm going to ask the questions on the exam is, here's a prompt. Identify what's the population and what's the sample. So identify from, what is going on with this? Maybe it's too much coffee. Connected with this then is the words parameter Oh, how much coffee? That's what you're referring to, Laura. I only had I think 4 of these, maybe 3. So parameter versus statistic. And notice, I can ask this parameter versus this statistic question and understand whether or not you know the difference between a population and a sample. Because what you're going to have to do is read a prompt and pick out the number in there that came from a sample and tell me that's the sample number, or pick out the number that came from a population and tell me that. So these two things are all tied up as one. The last thing that we need, which we didn't spend a lot of time with, but I think you did with Cindy last night, is the difference between qualitative and quantitative variables. Come on now. Come on. I should add the word variables. For the midterm, I'm going to give you a list of variables and you're going to identify which is which. For the final, being able to do this will help you answer the much bigger, more difficult question of a hypothesis test or confidence interval, or some of those other things. And then the other little bit that isn't quite as important, but is important, I am going to ask you to be able to distinguish if it's a quantitative variable, are the numbers we collected discrete or are they continuous? That's everything you need from 1-1. Unless I'm missing something. Questions on that? Anything, any question? Can you see that? Oh, so when it says share, I guess I can email it to you. Okay.
Yeah, we
good.
can see it.
Okay, good. Okay, so we're going to move to section 2.1. And I think instead of saying, here's what you need to know, why don't we just give you another, let's do 15 minutes and you work on the worksheet. The one you're turning into Cindy is, let me close the whiteboard, the 2.2.
2.1.
2.1, number 1. I knew that as soon as you said it. So this is the worksheet you're going to turn in to Cindy on Sunday. So do you all need me to print it and do it, or does everyone have, is there at least one person that has access to this that can share screen?
I have access that can share screen.
Okay. I'm going to assume you all do because you maybe have the full digital and we'll just save time. I don't remember who went where in the breakout rooms, so I'm just going to keep randomly assigning you. I hope that's okay.
What was the page number for that?
That is a wonderful question. This is page 478. Yes. So this time I'm going to make it so that you can move in and out. All right, Peg, have a great day. I hope your dog is okay. And that will make it so, oh no, how do I end these breakout rooms? Okay, it doesn't matter. There we go. So I'm just going to open the rooms and everyone is going everywhere, and I made it so you can go to any room you want. So Cindy, you should be able to jump around now, but we'll see. So here goes. Let's do 15 minutes, but I'll check in and see where everyone's at. Yeah. Oh, and let me pause the recording. There we go. Okay. Awesome, you all. I love it when I feel useless, because that means you all are just doing it, and that is so much better than listening to me do it. So great work. Was there any of these that anyone wants to talk about? And while you're thinking about asking that question, I will say these questions look very similar to the type of question that will be tossed at you on on a midterm. I hand you a graph and ask you to read something off of it. Whether it's a bar graph, what is this one? This isn't exactly a bar graph, right? Because it doesn't matter the order we put these in. Or one of these. Here we go, a histogram. I guess that is a bar graph versus a histogram where the things touch. We're going to do lots of these later. So this becomes a super important one for understanding how it works. But that's in 2.2, which we haven't hit that yet. My sense is that you all feel very comfortable with the 2.1 material. Am I wrong in sensing that?
No, you're not wrong.
Okay. I'm like never wrong, except when I am. Let me highlight just a few things that were super important that are going to show up a lot. You need to know relative frequency and how to calculate it. So it's how many of the particular item divided by the sum of all of the things, right? So know this little like formula.
And Eric, we narrowed it down how you did the other day and said part divided by total.
Nice. Love it. Love it. Okay, so maybe I'm also feeling like I don't need to spend much time in here, and I want to take a few minutes to look at the Chapter 2 project. It is currently in both my Canvas shell and Cindy's Canvas shell.
It's not in mine.
Okay, it's not in Cindy, so it's just in mine because I'm crazy. So let me show you where it is because I clicked that fast. Under day 2, which I guess is today, there's this Chapter 2 project. Oh, okay, there it is. Okay, there it is. The Chapter 2 project. When you click it, it opens up this thing with a link to the digital version. So heads up, all of the projects except for the 9, 10, and 11 projects you're going to do with your mouse. You won't have to write anything, your mouse and your keyboard. So they're going to be digital. So notice it says open this Google document and then either make a copy or download it for however you want. So here it is. If you want to make a copy from here, you go to File and make a copy or download. Does everyone know that you have paid for access to Office materials like Microsoft Word and Excel and all the rest? Do y'all know that?
I did not go over that with them.
Okay, let me do that super fast. So when you go to your email account, which you get to the home page, you go here and you sign in. Notice it says Office 365 login. Part of your fees are logging in, are going to pay this. So when you get in, you'll see something that looks like this. And in the top left corner, there's these, whatever those things are. And you see all of these options. So you have, for example, an online version of Microsoft Word that you can work with here, and it gets saved to a cloud service, which is Microsoft's Office is OneDrive, which is this. So you have essentially a Google Docs version all tied into your JC email account. And I believe if you save things to these OneDrives, when you go to upload stuff here, you can select files directly from your OneDrive, which is kind of nice. If you want a desktop version of Office, if you want to download it to your computer, you click that thing in the corner that says Office. And here it goes here. And then right in the top right corner of the home page, there's an Install Office feature. So you can do the apps, which is what you have in your computer, that's online version. They are a little pared down compared to the actual software, but you can also click that other install options and you can install this. Where is it? Install Office on your computer for up to 5 PCs, Macs, tablets, and up to 5 devices. So it downloads it and then it installs all the stuff on your computer for free that you paid for in your course fees. So hopefully you're aware of that. So when you download this thing, you can, and it says, oh, you don't have Word, you do, just install it on your computer, or you can upload this file to your OneDrive. Anyone have any questions about that? Okay. Oh, we got like 5 minutes for me to do this. Oh, and I got locked out of my StatLab account, I think. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we're gonna have to do this next time. So this isn't assigned yet anyways. It's not due till the 12th, which should actually be the 11th, Sunday after Memorial Day weekend. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do this project in front of you. The first couple of projects is about learning StatCrunch. So I'm gonna show you all of that and we'll work through it. You'll probably see some of it with Cindy as, wait, can I get in here? No, I'm gonna have to sign in.
No,
It's not gonna work, or is it? Whatever, we don't have enough time anyways. We need to do it another time. So, does everyone understand what you're doing between now and Wednesday when we meet again for 133?
so for Eric, for you, the only thing they need to actually turn in is the 1.3 worksheet number 1.
Yes, the 1-1 worksheet
Yeah, that's what I meant. 1.1 worksheet number 3.
number 3, the one we did together in class.
Yes.
And it's going to be easy to grade all of yours because you all got 100%. Those of you that didn't attend, attempt it, like couldn't come to the videos, attempt it, and then check yourself because the answers are part of the video. So that's it for me. I guess the other thing is, if you looked at my emails, I sent an email to Bibliu to request help with the access codes. You should be able to set up a free account for like 12 days to get into my StatLab. So you just set up your account and do the free thing if the access code isn't working, and hopefully Bibliu will get back to me today and we can get the access codes so you have full access.
So you guys, obviously I will have class tomorrow. I'll go over tomorrow what needs to be turned in for me this week. I mean, it's on my thing. We'll finish section 2.2 and we'll probably have you guys do 2.2 worksheet so that you'll have some practicing and you'll have that done so that you can get that turned in for Sunday. And we should be able to get 2.3 and 2.4 notes done as well.
Okay, don't be afraid to email me or show up to my tutoring hours, 8:30 to 11. I guess it's just tomorrow. Yep, and then jump into my StatLab and start figuring that mess out and how that goes. And part of my StatLab is often frustrating for students at the very beginning because you have to figure out how it wants answers and those things. It gets better as you go, for sure. Laura, I'm happy to hear that. That's one good thing about me. I might be a little disorganized and a little like fly by the seat of my pants, but I'm also like super understanding and will give you as much time and patience as you need. And I know Cindy's patient and understanding. None of those other descriptors describe Cindy that are about me. I mean, Cindy, your hair looks nice. Like you're put together, and then there's me. Okay, so have a great Memorial Day weekend. I hear no, that's July 4th.
It's Labor Day. It's Labor Day weekend. So no class on Monday. So we will not have class on Monday. So they will not see you again until Wednesday. And they'll see me 2 times before they see you. How's that?
Which is better. We know that. It's okay. Maybe I'll shave by then. Okay, I'm done. I should be done. You all have a great couple days. Again, don't hesitate to reach out for help for anything. I'm going to stop the recording. I can stick around for another